WQSU FM HD1, Selinsgrove.
The heartbeat of the Susquehanna Valley.
WQSU is proud to present the PA Pigskin Preview. WQSU's live sports talk show produced exclusively by Susquehanna University communication students. Tonight, we'll preview local high school and college football games live from Buffalo Wild Wings. Right now, it's the WQSU Sports Corner.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 88.9 WQSU The Pulse and the PA Pigskin Preview coming at you live from Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm still not Jackson Purnell. I'm Matt Vargo, and alongside me today, once again, is Brai Tate. And we're going to start off this show with an interview from Shikellamy head coach Mike Hoover. Brai, the floor is yours.
Today I'm here with Mike Hoover, the interim head coach for Shikellamy. Schick is 1-8, their win being against Central Mountain in week 6, 41-0. Have you had any prior experience at Shikellamy and with this football team, and how has this transition been for you and this team?
So I've been coaching over at Shikellamy football since 2012 under Coach Tilford. I was under him from 2012 to 2019. And then Coach Jim Kaiser came down to Shikellamy in 2020, and I was under him. I coached defensive backs for most of the time there, and then for the last few years, about the last 3 or 4 years, I've been the defense coordinator there at Shikellamy. So next question, how was the transition for me, right? So, if you asked me this back in camp, I would have told you what's going on, right? But honestly, the transition with this has been unbelievable. I came into this thing and just it's how I coach. I coach positivity. I just want kids to play how I coach, and it's all positive. It's confidence. It's we got this together. You know, I got your back and stuff like that. And honestly, that transition for them, to me, was remarkable. Like, they've responded so well, and I'm so proud of them and how we've played the last 5 games. Like, I know in the wins column we got just a win over Central Mountain, but they have battled these last 3 games really, really hard. And the game could have went either way these last 3.
That's an awesome coaching style to have. I love to hear that. Last week, the team put up a good fight against Danville, but lost 34-12. And after the game, Danville's coach Carl Major said, Shikellamy played us tough. They're much better than their record. And you said, it's getting tiring to lose. I'd like to see them get rewarded. You can see what we're capable of against a good team. And you've had a couple close games this past year, some notable games. Milton being the 20-7 loss in overtime. Selinsgrove 14-7. Bloomsburg 39-29. Can you expand a little bit on these quotes and just the team's work ethic in general and being able to keep up with these good teams?
Yeah, so the Milton game was the season opener. We lost that in overtime, 20-17. You know, we had that one, and it got away from us. Selinsgrove, Bloomsburg were the back half of our schedule. That was since I took over as interim head coach. And the work ethic these guys have put in since week 5 forward has just been unbelievable. These guys bought in. We switched up some things. We've played phenomenal. Honestly, we played really good defense the entire year. We've played sound defense. Offensively, we were kind of stuck in sand, per se. And we've kind of opened things up offensively a little bit and put some points on the board. And the guys are, honestly, they're having fun with it. And that's the most important part. Like, they're working so hard and having fun doing it, and you can't ask for 2 better combinations, you know?
Yeah. So now we're just going to go a little bit positional groups, starting off with your junior quarterback, Brody Rebuck. He's 112 for 217 with 1,005 yards and 9 touchdowns. And rushing, he has 224 yards with 4 touchdowns. What have you liked from Brody this season?
You know, honestly, he has turned himself around these last, say, 5 games with us, like, meaning he's been a playmaker. He's come together as a leader, a captain on the team, and he's bought into what we're doing. I mean, so he's having an unbelievable second half of the season here. He's throwing the ball well. We missed some balls in the it was a couple games ago. It was the Selinsgrove game. It was 14-7. We lost that one, but we missed a couple wide open passes that could have totally changed that game around. But in a nutshell, man, he is playing hard football. I mean, him running at any defensive back, I would not want to be getting away of tackling that man. So
next year, running backs, you have sophomore running back Mikey Vaders, 76 carries for 241 yards. Senior running back Derek Turber-Ortiz, 43 carries, 214 yards, and he averages 5 yards a carry. And then freshman Gavin Kiefer, 26 carries for 135 yards. What have you liked from your running backs?
So what I love about our backs is every back is different in their own way. We're going to miss Derek Turber. This is tomorrow night's his final game of his career here at Shikellamy. He's a senior, and he stepped up these last few games. He didn't play offense in the first few games for us, and the second half of the season here we've been using him in the backfield. And, heck, he even has 3 touchdown catches out of the backfield. So pretty good stuff there. But moving on, underclassmen, man, we got Luke Keeley back there, who he's not on there, but we got Mikey Vaders, and we got an up-and-coming freshman in Gavin Kiefer. Now, he got hurt a few games ago. He gets his cast off. Broke his hand in the Central Mountain game. He gets his cast off actually next week. But, man, Vaders and Keeley, they're like scat backs. They're like, you don't know, like you'll go for them in this one spot, and the next thing you know, he's in a different area. And both those guys got speed, and they got wheels. Luke Keeley will be a senior next year. Mikey's only going to be a junior. And Gavin Kiefer, as I said before, man, he's only going to be a sophomore coming in. Next year will be a junior. He's a sophomore right now. But he's due to have some success here. So, Mikey Vaders, I love that kid.
Awesome. And now some receivers. Sophomore Thomas Pollock, 42 receptions for 510 yards, 6 touchdowns. Sophomore Corbin Stahl, 13 receptions, 112 yards. Sophomore Charlie Walter, 18 receptions, 111 yards. What have you liked from these receivers?
So what I love about them is they all can catch a football, they all can run good routes, and they all got pretty dang good speed. And it just creates mismatches for the defense having this many weapons on our offense. I mean, combined with the guys I just named to you at running back, and then put guys out there like, Pollock speaks for himself. I mean, he had the first 4 games we had, he had 13 catches. He's now at 42 catches on the year and over 500 yards. He's a mismatch for anybody if you don't bracket him, right? And then you got Charlie Walter, you got Corbin Stahl. They're both only sophomores coming back into their junior year next year. And then we got Connor Fastbinder and Owen Elliott. They're seniors. They're contributing in there. And, there's a guy not on that paper that is going to help us. He's an up-and-comer. He's a freshman. He was dinged up a little bit the past few games, but I have so much belief in this kid. His name's Demir Hewlett. He's going to help us out at receiver as well. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the line. Can you talk about some linemen that you have, and how have you liked how they've worked together?
So for the first time in, it's been a while, like in the beginning of the season, one of our senior linemen, John Rosinski, he's been dinged up most of the year. He's been in and out of the lineup. But we've had our full line. Let me think here. Tomorrow night we got everybody but one. Noah Johnson is out. But, the rest of the line, like we have guys that are filling in and doing jobs. We got freshmen coming in there tomorrow night, Everett Purdy. He'll be filling in a spot, but, we've relied on Brady Kowalczyk to fill in there. And then obviously you got Willie Bender. We got the other guy, Gadiel Valderrama, filling in there. Our center's been phenomenal all year in Devin Bingaman. And we got John Rosinski's younger brother, Jacob Rosinski. He's played the entire year. He hasn't been hurt, and he's been stepping up and playing good at tackle for us. So we got a good core coming back. We only lose one lineman, but that's the key. We had one of our linemen, he's a junior, Harrison Hector, go out earlier in the year, about 3rd, 4th game of the year with a knee injury. He'll be back next year as a senior. But that's what we really got to work on and get our line established for 2025. So
yeah. Now I'm just going to name off some defense players that you have. Senior, again, Derek Turber. Sophomore, Corbin Stahl. 52 tackles. Derek had 82 tackles, 14 for loss. Sophomore Corbin Stahl, 52 tackles. Sophomore Willie Bender, 52 tackles, 5.5 for loss. Noah Johnson, 47 tackles, 3.5 for loss. Junior Bryce Broombaugh, 40 tackles, 8 for loss. How have you liked this defense, and is there anyone else that you would like to mention?
So the people you mentioned there, listen, our defense has literally been they've been stepping up all year and playing phenomenal defense. The back half of our schedule is a little tougher than the first half, so obviously teams put some points on us, but to hold Selinsgrove to 7 points with Gavin Bastion and Ethan Miller in there, man, that was good physical defense that game. But speaking of the guys, the people you're talking about, like we lose Derek Turbo-Ortiz obviously after tomorrow's game. But really the only other senior in there is Connor Fastminder and Owen Elliott, my corner. So we lose 3 guys on defense, but Connor, he was hurt for a few games, and the freshman Demir Hewlett filled in for him while he was absent. So given those pieces, take a few pieces out, we return, in a sense, 9 starters on defense next year, which looks bright for Shikellamy defense, just having to replace those 2, which Derek's going to be hard to replace. He's been a huge, huge help for us defensively this year. But he's helped mentor Willie Bender and Noah Johnson, who are beside him at the Will and the Sam backer. And our safety, Corbin Stahl, he's just played lights-out football. At safety, comes downhill hard on the run, and plays the pass very well. Lastly, I'll talk about our DN/D tackles, Bryce Broombaugh, Gadiel Valderrama. They were playing well all year. Bryce didn't want to buy into that position. He wanted to play outside backer, and we're like, you're D tackle DM for us. And it proves. Look at the stats. He's having a phenomenal year. And inside there we've been repping Jackson Kashuba at nose guard, and also Bazir Baez in there, and they've been doing a great job at nose. I'll move the outside backers. So outside backers, as I say, Connor Fastminder has been playing there, but when he was hurt, Demir Hewlett, the freshman's been filling in there. And on the other side, somebody that's really having an unbelievable year as a sophomore is Chase Schwartz. He's really playing some good football for us. Each game he is getting better and better and better as a sophomore. And, at corners, like I said, I have Owen Elliott at one corner. We got to replace him next year. He's leaving. And at the other corner, you can probably figure this out. His name's Maddox Hoover. He's a Hoover. So he's at the other corner, but he's playing a heck of a year at corner. It's funny. I didn't think he'd ever play on the defensive side of the ball, and he wanted to go out for corner in the beginning of camp, and here we are. He's a corner for us. He's playing well. So.
All right, and then we're just going to talk a little briefly about kicking. You have freshman Ryan DePhillips. He's 3 for 8 on point after touchdowns, and then I saw Brody Rebuck doing some punting, and we mentioned a couple players playing on both sides of the ball. And can you just expand a little bit on how versatile this team is and how important that is for the team?
Yeah, so Ryan DePhillips is actually a soccer player, and he kicks for us, but he is there all the time asking to, kick extra points. He wants to he makes time for us as a football team to get to our practice kickoffs, stuff like that. And honestly, he's only a freshman. And, last week I went up to him, and we missed a chip shot there. I think it was right before halftime, if I'm not mistaken. I said to him, "Can you hit this?" And he said, "Coach, I got this." And I think it was right before half. I'm not sure. But, he just missed it. I think it was a 34-yarder or something like that. But as a freshman, he's up and coming. He's going to be okay. He's got 3 more years with us, so kicking, and he's just going to keep getting better and better. As far as Brody Raybuck punting, for the most part, he punts well. He shanked one last week, about hit me on the sideline, if you remember. It looked like he was passing it. But for the most part, he gets the boots off. He can get it off and get it high and get it deep. And, it helps us, too, because, honestly, if your quarterback's back there punting, you can set up some fakes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And other teams have to prepare that, okay, this isn't a punter standing back here. This is a kid that could throw the ball, could run the ball at any moment, and is not just going to punt it.
Yeah.
So, yep.
All right, now we're just going to wrap up with The last game of the year, tomorrow night, the team plays Southern Columbia. They are 5-4. So is the game plan any different this week? Is there anything special you want to work on or you have been working on in practice that you really want to hit and kind of give these seniors their last game?
So we said to the seniors all week, this is your final game here playing Shikellamy football. Let's end it on a good note. I tell them all the time, I'm like, listen, you're not going to remember for the life of you when you get to my age what your record was if you beat Southern your last football game. Like, it's just that's what you're going to remember. It is. When you're in your 40s or whatever, you're not going to remember you were, 1-9 or 2-8 or whatever you were. But you will remember that game that you won, the last final game of your senior season when you knocked Southern off that you haven't beaten. I can't even tell you when it was. But honestly, so looking at this game plan this week, they are young. We are young. They're obviously disciplined. That's Coach Roth. He's a heck of a coach. He's been there forever and has a lot of championships to speak for it. They're a very good, disciplined football team, and they play physical. So we have to match their physicality. If we match their physicality and we play like we've played these last 5 weeks since I've been here, we're going to give them a dogfight up there in Catawissa tomorrow night. And I'm excited for the guys. They are ready to go. They don't fear. Like, this is the greatest part of this team. They don't care, as you've seen last week against Danville or Selinsgrove, they don't care who their opponent is. They go in there with the preparation and the plan that we don't care what your record is. We don't care who you are. We're here to play football, and we're going to get it done, and we're not going to quit for 4 quarters, and we're going to see how it ends up at the end of 4 quarters.
All right, and so the last couple years, Shikellamy has been 2-9, 1-9, and then again 1-9 and 21. I know that you might not. I don't know what the situation is down there, but can you just talk a little? Or I know we did talk about a little bit of the young talent on the team, and just if you want to say anything else about that, and is the different hopes for this off season and what you want to accomplish.
So right now, I'm the interim head coach at this point. So, but I'll try to talk about the future here. So hopefully, you know what I mean. If things go right, that's where I am. But so we only lose 6 players. I have a 50. Like when I started back in week 5, the roster we had about 40 players on it. We currently have 52 players on it, and we only lose 6. So if everyone comes back out that's on it, and we have 46, and I'm pretty positive that all 46 will be back out. So we just got to add to that. We got to recruit. We got to find guys that haven't been out, why they haven't been out, and get them out on the team. But I'm very optimistic for the future of the Braves. I mean, I wrote down here some numbers. I got 15 freshmen. I got 19 sophomores. I got 12 juniors. And we only have 6 seniors. So that's a lot of good stuff up and coming for Shikellamy football, man. So I'm happy. The thing that's been killing us these last few weeks, I wrote this down, is we've been dealing with some injuries, but honestly, nobody's really noticed it behind the scenes because we've been plugging guys in and they've been doing their job. But I've had 10 people go out for the season since I took over in week 5. It's just been crazy, like broken hands, broken fingers, and different things like that. Sprained ankles that are beyond like coming back. So like I said, we have 10 guys out for the year, and the roster's a little slim here coming into week 10, but guys are stepping into the role, the underclassmen, and that's the hope I see for the Shikellamy future.
Mm-hmm. That's all you can ask for.
Yep.
I can tell that you're really passionate about this team, and you love these guys, love coaching these guys, so I wish you luck tomorrow up in Catawissa, and I think that's it for me, Vargo.
I think that's it. That was a very good interview. I wish you the best of luck, Coach Hoover, and knock Southern Columbia off their game. I'm rooting for you.
All right. Hey, thank you. And we're going to try. I guarantee you we'll give it everything we got.
We're going to see who Todd Hummel picks next, though.
All right. You said it right, Brai. Todd Hummel, the Daily Item reporter, coming up right after the break here on 88.9 The Pulse. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, to the PA Pigskin Preview live from Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm Matt Vargo alongside Brai, Tate. To start off the show, we had Shikellamy interim head coach Mike Hoover to discuss his team as they look to knock off Southern Columbia in the last regular season game of the year. But next up, we've got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Todd Hummel from the Daily Item. Todd, welcome back once again.
Well, that was quite the introduction.
I was
Thank
going
you.
to say the same thing.
You've been a mainstay for the last 2 years, Todd. I feel like it was worthy of it.
I think I was on the first one of these like in 2019.
Ooh. He's a veteran.
I am a veteran.
Not. We're getting there. So last week you were 3-2 on your picks, meaning you're 15-6 on the season. So we're just going to start out. The first one was District 4 2A Williamsport versus District 4 1A Montgomery. You picked South Williamsport, and Montgomery won 42-14. What happened?
It kind of takes the introduction out of it there, doesn't it? Honestly, like I had said before when we talked about it, that Montgomery is much improved, but I didn't think they were that much improved. And right now they're playing real well, and they have really solidified themselves as the 3 seed right now in District 4 Class A as we head into the final week of the season.
Okay, and then District 4 4A Jersey Shore versus Scranton Prep. You picked Jersey Shore, and Scranton beat them 27-19. What happened in this one?
Well, this is one of those games where it was I thought it was kind of a toss-up, and it turned out that Jersey Shore had some trouble stopping the Scranton Prep quarterback who ran for 4 touchdowns in that game. And it was, the Bulldogs really upped their schedule this season and playing Delaware Valley and Dallas to open the season, and this non-leaguer with Scranton Prep. So we'll see how that pays off as we head into the playoffs. As right now they should be the 2nd seed, and we're probably looking at Selinsgrove heading up there next week for the first round of the 4A playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And then start getting into your winning
well,
a
that's
little
at
bit.
least good.
District 4 2A matchup, Hughesville versus Wyalusing Valley. You picked Hughesville, and Hughesville win 24-7. And then District 4 4A Shamokin versus District 4 2A Loyalsock. You picked Shamokin, and Shamokin won 48-7. District 4 4A Selinsgrove and District 2 3A Berwick. You picked Selinsgrove to win, and Selinsgrove won 28-30. I just said that backwards. 38-20. This was a little bit of a closer one. What do you have to say about this one?
Okay, in Selinsgrove and Berwick, we talked a little bit last week that Tymir Wilkerson for Berwick ran for, I think, 366 yards against Williamsport 2 weeks ago. The Seals did a much better job against him. He still had 3 runs of more than 50 yards, but Berwick wasn't able to pass much. They only, I think they were 0 of 3, and Carlos Studer returned an interception for a touchdown for the Seals in that one, and they were able to get their passing game going as well. Their standout receiver, Gavin Bastion, ended the game with the school career record in catches, breaking Ryan Shuck's record, and he broke former Penn State player Ryan Kaiser's career yardage record for the Seals. So it was a big win for Selinsgrove, and they have a tough one this week heading up to Danville.
Okay, now we're going to go into this week a little bit. District 4 6A matchup. Wilkes-Barre, they're 5-4, and Williamsport is 4-5. Williamsport won their first 4 but lost their last 5. They have one common opponent, being Wyoming Valley West. Wilkes-Barre beat them 35-0, and Williamsport beat them 33-0. Who do you like here?
I think I like Wilkes-Barre in this one. Williamsport's really struggled defensively lately, though, interestingly enough, after giving up almost, I think, more than 500 yards against Berwick last week, Hollidaysburg, who was 8-1, I believe, going into that game last week and had throttled Selinsgrove the week before, only ran for 53 yards and a 4-point win against them. So it seems like maybe Williamsport's at least figured out something a little bit defensively. But, they've been beat up at the quarterback position. They're down to their 3rd-string guy in a freshman, and I think that's just been a little bit too much for them to overcome right now.
Okay. District 4 3A Mount Carmel, they're 7-2, and District 4 4A Shamokin, they're 9-0. So their only common opponent is Central Mountain. Mount Carmel beat them 49-20, and Shamokin beat them 76-0. Who do you like here?
I do like the Indians in this one, but this is going to be a fun one. They both school districts told fans, if you're coming to this one, to get your tickets early. They're expecting at least 5,000 people there tomorrow night.
Wow.
The Silver Bowl seats 7,000. It's going to be a great one. Both teams are evenly matched. The interesting part about this one is Shamokin is 9-0. They're looking for their first undefeated season since 1991, and they haven't won this game since 1995. So,
wow.
There's a lot riding on this for them. With the big crowd, and I just think it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on, because it's a lot of pressure on Shamokin, and it's a lot of pressure on Mount Carmel. It's been 28 years since 28 years since they've lost this game. You don't want to be that crew that loses this game, but I think this comes down to defense. I think Shamokin's defense is a little better this season, and it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a close one, and right now I think Shamokin's got a chance to have one of those special seasons.
Hope it's going to be a good game. Now, District 4 2A Loyal Sock, they're 5-4. And District 4 3A Montoursville, they're also 5-4. They have 4 common opponents. The first one being Mifflinburg. Loyal Sock won 28-27. Montoursville won against Mifflinburg 27-20. Their second is Southern Columbia. Loyal Sock lost to Southern 47-0. Montoursville also lost 19-16. Their third one being Lewisburg. Loyal Sock lost to Lewisburg 27-13, and Montoursville also lost to Lewisburg 22-19. And then their fourth and final being Danville. Loyal Sock lost to Danville 28-3, and Montoursville also lost to Danville 44-20. So this is going to be a good one. Who do you like?
I think I like Montoursville in this one. This is obviously a rivalry game. These guys, it's called the Battle of the Bridge. Not a lot of space separating Loyal Sock Township and Montoursville, just that tiny little green bridge. And, I just think Montoursville is a little more balanced offensively right now than the Lancers are. I got a chance to see Montoursville play Lewisburg last week, and they moved the ball real well between the 20s. Both teams are kind of battling for position in the district playoff race. Loyal Sock, Warrior Run, and Southern Columbia, I think, are separated by 0.07 of a point right now. So, between those 3 teams, if all of them win, it's going to come down to the math on Saturday night to see who gets those 2 home games. That'd be the 3 through the 5 seeds. So, I like Montoursville in this one. This is another one that's going to be real close, but I just think Montoursville has a little bit better offense and probably just a little bit better team right now.
Okay, changing gears a little bit. We're going to go to 2 teams who don't have a win yet this season. District 4 3A Midwest, they're 0-9, and Holy Redeemer, they're also 0-9, and there's no common opponents. Who do you think will get their first win?
I think it's going to be Midwest, to be honest. You look at some of those teams that Midwest has played. I think of their 9 games so far, I think 7 are definitely going to be in the District 4 playoffs. Of all the things I've heard this season, they're still playing hard for Coach Jeff Janovich. They're still at it, and I think just right now that they play in the Heartland Athletic Conference, and that gives them an upper hand in this game. I think it's just going to be fun for them to look across and see somebody they match up with rather than somebody that's probably going to beat them up pretty badly. And I think that gives them a shot. It's good. The downside is it's a long trip. They're going to play up at it's up at Kingston and Wyoming Valley West on Wyoming Valley West Turf Field. So it's a long road trip, but I like Midwest in this one. It's going to be a great way for them to go into the offseason and kind of get things kick-started for first-year coach Jeff Janovich.
Yeah, definitely going into all those games with those harder teams is rough. So seeing a team that they feel like they could actually have a shot against is going to be awesome for them. And then which matchup are you looking forward to most this week, and where are you covering?
Well, I think that's both an easy answer. I'll be at the Coal Bucket, and that's the one I'm looking forward to. I think it's the biggest game around here probably in 7 years. I think it was 2017. Selinsgrove and Southern Columbia were both, or maybe it was 2016. It was one of those years. Both Southern Columbia and Selinsgrove were undefeated and 9-0 going into a Week 10 game, and Shamokin at 9-0 and Mount Carmel at 7-2, and both fan bases are really into their football teams, obviously, and I mean, Shamokin traveled to Jersey Shore, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be a large contingent over at Mount Carmel tomorrow night. And, I think the Little Brown Jug's going to be fun, too. Lewisburg hosts Mifflinburg tomorrow. Mifflinburg's been playing really well. Lewisburg is 8-1 as well, and it's going to be a matchup of two real good teams. It should be a fun bunch of games around here in the area.
Yeah. Thank you for coming tonight. See how your picks turn out after tomorrow night, the last regular week of the season.
I don't really have a whole lot to add here as well, Todd. Have fun at the Coal Bucket game. I know a lot of people that are really excited for it, especially given the lengthy drought that Shamokin has in this rivalry. And where did all this time go? It feels like we just started it and then blink, and now it's the last day of the regular season. So,
hey, you're telling me I started previews in mid-July, and I can't believe I almost put a sweatshirt to come on. I'm not ready for the cold yet. It feels like summer was just here.
I feel ya.
Right back at you, Todd. Anyway, in any event, we'll move on to our second ad break of the evening, where we will have our roundtable discussion earlier than expected, and Adam Rothschild will be coming on board. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this. A Pigskin preview here on 88.9 WQSU The Pulse. I'm your host, Matt, alongside Brai, and now we got Adam here for some roundtable discussions. Adam, this is your first time ever behind the mic for PA Pigskins. You've been helping out behind the scenes a lot. How's it feel to finally get on board?
Feels great to be here. I think I'm just really looking forward to the opportunity, and haven't been on sports shows in the past and doing so much stuff here. It's been incredible to help you guys out with everything, and glad to be on the show.
I'm glad that you're excited, and I mean, hey, with you guys both being sophomores and this being my last season of PA Pigskins, I kind of feel like the old cowboy passing off the legacy to his underlings. Okay, don't rub it in, Brai. All right, we're going to start off this roundtable discussion with some Susquehanna football. They are taking on Wilkes on the road this Saturday. And with talking with some of the players and coaches, they say that Wilkes will be the best team that the Riverhawks play this entire regular season, and I'm starting to believe it. They beat Wilkes last year 34-7. One of the closer landmark conference games last year, if you can believe it, but they're much improved from last year. They're 5-2, undefeated in the landmark. We'll start with you, Adam. Do you think Susquehanna's going to win, and by how much?
I mean, you have to think about it, because after what we saw in the homecoming game last week, of course, the dominance that they had on the field, they proved it, and they did what they had to do. We saw one of the longest runs by Rashawn Lamons, a 96-yard run, and that's the kind of stuff the Riverhawks needed. And when you have Josh Ehrlich throwing the ball and making the passes he's able to do, and you have Matt Sertz with the other incredible run as well. So those are things you're looking forward to going into a game, like you mentioned, against a team that's with Wilkes that's 5-2. And of course, mentioning it being one of the best games of the year, you also can't forget about the Cortland matchup as well that happened back in September. That was a tough game against one of the best teams in Division III. So when you look at that perspective, Wilkes is going to be another tough opponent, and we'll see if the Riverhawks are up for the challenge. I think they are.
So you think they're going to win this game?
Absolutely.
Score prediction right now.
It's going to be a tight game. I'm going to say 27-20.
Okay, a one-score game. Haven't had one of those for a while. Brai, you're going up there. You and the cheer team have been to every game outside of Western New England. Have you ever been to Wilkes before?
I haven't.
It's a lot like Susquehanna. You'll be driving around farmland and then just blam, you're there. Just to give you a heads up.
I'm used to it.
But in any event, talk about this game from a cheer perspective and give us your prediction for this game.
Okay, this offense scoring 79 points against Keystone, followed by 66 points against Juniata the last 2 weeks. They're explosive, I guess you could say. I think this game could be about on par as the Western New England game that you said. Susquehanna beat Western New England 34-21. I think we could be on about the same par as that. I think the defense last week looked not.
With the PA Pigskin's broadcast.
I think the defense last week looked a little different than we saw the last couple weeks. So we'll see how they look this Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening with our technical issues, but we're just going to keep on keeping on as if everything is fine. We'll just keep going. Anyway, we'll throw it to some Division I college football. The big matchup, obviously, is Penn State taking on Wisconsin on the road. Penn State coming off their bye. In their last game, they beat USC 33-30. And I think for Penn State, this is going to be one of the harder games they play. Wisconsin is 5-2, and their only loss in the Big Ten was against USC. They lost by 17 a couple weeks ago. They also took on Alabama, lost 42-10. But I think Penn State's going to win this game. I think they're going to win it relatively comfortably. I'll say 35-21. Brai, what do you think about this one?
I don't know. Adam, I'm passing this to you.
All right, well, I'll start it off with this. With Penn State and what they've done, they're off to a 6-0 start for the second straight season, and from what we've seen from them so far, talk about their opponents, West Virginia, Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, and USC. That's more than you can ask for. And by these margins that they've won, they've had some close games. They've had some dominant stretches. Of course, the 56-0 win over Kent State back on the October the 8th. But one of the players that's going to be important to watch is their tight end Tyler Warren. He set multiple records in Penn State's win over USC. 17 receptions for 224 yards and a touchdown, while adding a 4-yard rush and a 9-yard pass. And it led, of course, to the 17 receptions that are a Penn State record. So when you look into that, he's going to be a key guy to watch out there on the field for Penn State in this matchup against Wisconsin.
All right. And even though I kind of jumped the gun a little bit with Penn State, the technical issues have been resolved also, which is great, so no need to panic anymore. I kind of panicked a little bit, but...
You always panic.
Oh, yeah.
You get that from Dan Graham.
Yeah, who's sitting right next to us, as always. But I actually do want to bring it back to Susquehanna a little bit because I forgot to give my prediction.
I know,
for the
I was going to say that.
Yeah, thank you for, I just remembered it when we segued into Penn State. But Wilkes, they're obviously much better than what they were last year. I believe they have a couple of high-impact defensive players. I believe Ramos, one of their defensive linemen, is having a great year, and one of their corners has a 6 or 7 interception season, something like that. Pretty ridiculous. So you guys think it's going to be relatively closer. Brai, you think it's going to be more comfortable than Adam. I'm going to say 38-20 just because I think that this team is just that good. They moved up again in the Division III football rankings. They're now 7th, which might be even higher than what they were last year, even though they went undefeated.
I think so.
Yeah, and Wilkes, they're good, but they're like vanilla ice cream good. It's good. It's good. Vanilla ice cream is good, but there's not really, I guess,
We're like the birthday cake
Exactly.
to their vanilla.
I like that. For me, I would say mint chocolate chip because
Add
that's
some
my
sprinkles.
favorite ice cream. Yeah, we got a little bit more flavor to us. Meanwhile, Wilkes, they're just a really good team, and it's
Yeah.
not a shot against them. I just think that we are a much better team than they are, and that's kind of why I think it's going to be a more comfortable win than most other people will.
I agree.
We'll now move on to the NFL, and we're going to start with the Eagles. I am the Eagles fan out of all of us. It was pretty refreshing to see them win by a blowout against New York last week. 28-3, Saquon Barkley was excellent, 176 rushing yards, outgained the entire Giants offense by himself, and made the Giants owner have a tough time sleeping because that's what he said on Hard Knocks when Saquon left. So, Adam, we're going to start with you. What was impressive about that Eagles win, and what do you expect from them against the Bengals this upcoming Sunday?
Outside of Saquon Barkley, there was nothing impressive about this win because it was the Giants. And yes, I know it was the Giants and Cleveland before that, but they need to prove themselves against the tougher opponents. You have a Bengals team who's been on a hot streak lately. Like I said this on the sports show last night. This is an important game for the Eagles. You win this game, you're 5-2, and then you get into your divisional play after Jacksonville against the Cowboys and the Commanders, and eventually the Rams, which leads up to the matchup against the Ravens, which is probably the game of the year for them, which could decide their season. So Jalen Hurts has got to be able to play well in the passing game and run the ball with Saquon Barkley because that's what the Eagles have been doing all season. They've done a solid job with it, but they got to keep doing what they're doing. The defense has got to step up. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's got to step up on the corner side, and that's what they got to work with. So I think for the Eagles, it's a must-win against the Bengals.
I wouldn't say must-win. They could maybe drop this one and be fine because they have Jacksonville coming up, and Dallas looks very average and more below average when they get beat down by San Francisco. But we might touch upon that later. I think I agree. When Saquon's excellent, they win. When he's not, they lose. Jalen Hurts, he wasn't that good outside of a deep bomb to A.J. Brown. But, Brai, you have anything to add on this Eagles game?
I think this is a bigger game for the Bengals than it is the Eagles.
I agree.
I think the Bengals had higher expectations than what they're meeting. And I think I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. It's going to be pretty close, but I'm taking the Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to win this game. I'm not confident in this pick whatsoever because last time they were on the road, it was a disaster against Tampa. And like you said, Cincinnati is desperate. They've dropped a few games. They really should have won. And I agree that they need this one more because if they drop to 3-5 in the AFC, I think they're done. Now that Baltimore has finally clicked, Pittsburgh, maybe Russell Wilson will have a little bit of a renaissance. So they can't afford to fall behind any more than they already have. So I'll pick the Eagles, but I will not be surprised if this goes the other way. It blew up in my face last time when they played Tampa Bay a few weeks ago. But now moving on to the Steelers. After a drubbing over Adams' Jets 37-15 on Sunday Night Football.
You had to throw that in there. You had to.
Davante Adams did not do much of anything for this group.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson, like I said, he looked reborn in a Steelers uniform. He looked way better than I thought. The defense was as advertised. They're 5-2. They're taking on the Giants on Monday Night Football. I think the Steelers are going to win comfortably. It'll be Daniel Jones' last start in a New York Giants uniform.
Yeah.
Brai, you're the Steelers fan, I think. Maybe a Niners fan, too. Take it away.
There's no reason that Pittsburgh shouldn't win this, and by a lot at that. I think I agree. Russell Wilson looks like a new person in the Steelers uniform, and he fits into this pretty well so far. So we'll see how this second week plays out, and if Daniel Jones plays any more games as a Giant, I can't imagine being that manager.
Maybe that'll be a good thing because they'll get Shedeur Sanders or something in the draft, but I don't even know if they'll be that bad to even do that.
Ugh.
And speaking of the Giants, and then I know we were talking about the Steelers, I think the GM might be in trouble. You let Saquon go, you're perfectly fine about it. Your owner said, again, I'm going to have a hard time sleeping if he goes to Philly. They're a mess. I agree. I'm going to say for my score, Pittsburgh wins it 28-7. That's how bad I think it's going to be.
I'm going 28-3.
Okay, a repeat of last week for the Giants. I like it. Adam, give us your input on the Steelers.
Prime Russell Wilson came back to play, and it's clear that he's back, and it's clear that everyone was down on Mike Tomlin after he made the decision to go with Russell Wilson, when really it turned out to be a good decision because of the quarterback you have in that room. and with the leadership that he brings. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been at the top of this league for the years in the past, of course, with Seattle. And we know that he had the struggles in Denver, but I just had a feeling there was going to be a point where Russell Wilson was going to turn it around, because you give him the weapons he has. You give him George Pickens. You give him Darnell Washington. And you give him all these weapons he's got with Pittsburgh. Give him a great defense led by T.J. Watt. And what they've got in Pittsburgh right now, they've got a team that's 5-2. They beat the Giants. They're going into their bye week. And looking at the rest of their schedule, they got the Commanders after that. And then you got the Ravens after that, which is probably going to be the most important game for them leading up as we slowly make our way towards the second half of the season. And you think about this for the Steelers, it's now a decision. Do you think they go back to Justin Fields, or do they stick with Russell Wilson?
I don't see in any possible way they go back to Justin Fields unless Russ immediately sputters. And there's a chance to do so, because the only really gimme left on their schedule, in my opinion, is the Giants. You might say Cleveland, but I think Cleveland just got better now that Deshaun Watson is out. But look at the schedule up ahead after the Giants. At Washington, home against Baltimore, Cleveland on the road. I'll give you that it's leaning towards a gimme, but I don't know. Like I said, I think they're better without Deshaun. Bengals on the road, Browns again, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. That's a tough stretch, and they're going to need Russell Wilson to continue this level of play if they're going to make the playoffs. But they built up a good cushion to do just that. We'll now move on to another NFL matchup in prime time. The Dallas Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. Cowboys coming off the bye, they're 3-3. The Niners dropped a big game against the Chiefs, the Super Bowl rematch, 28-18. Brock Purdy was not very good in this game, and I think the Niners are due for a get-right game, because I just think the Cowboys are that average and have so many problems. Jerry Jones, he's running a circus over there with all those media appearances. I think the Niners won't win it as comfortably as they have in years past, but I'm still going to go 28-17 over Dallas. Brai, what do you think?
These 49ers are looking bad. The injuries are insane. I don't even know what to say for them to. I think they should win over Dallas. I think it's going to be a closer game than it should be. Just all the injuries are not working too well for them.
Adam?
You got to remember this. They're playing a lot of games without Deebo Samuel, a lot of games without George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey, of course, too. But still, you got to remember, you still got Jennings in there. You still got your backup Jordan Mason at running back, which of course he surprised a lot of people back in Week 1. And I think for Dallas in this case, you're 3-3. It's a big game, and for the consistency that the Cowboys have been on this year, been up and down all the way, and just not having it. Just some weeks it's hard to predict what's going on with Dallas, because you just don't know if they're going to have any momentum or not. And we saw that against the Lions, where Dak was just not confident in himself, and interception after interception. The Lions defense played well that game. Anyways, getting back to the point, this is an important game for both teams. For San Francisco, you win this game, you're 4-4, you're still at the top of your division, because a lot of the other teams in your division, Seattle and the Rams, are struggling right now to find that. Of course, we got the Rams playing the Vikings right now on Thursday Night Football, but when you look at this for the Cowboys, they need to win this game too. So must win for both teams, both in tough divisions, trying to get on the right path.
100%. And now I know the Niners have dealt with injury issues in the past, and I'm not ready to count them out yet, because they've had seasons where they started off slow. I believe the year they played the Eagles in 2022 Conference Championship, I think they were 4-4 at one point and then went on a big hot streak to finish the season. I think that could happen again, but this level of injury unluckiness is mind-boggling. Deebo, pneumonia to the point where he had to be hospitalized. Kittle, I think he's dealing with a sprained foot.
Okay, also he was doing something with his ribs a couple weeks ago too.
Mm-hmm.
I also see that Nick Bosa is questionable for this next game.
Yep.
I don't know.
Also, Ayuk tore his ACL too. He's done for the season.
Yeah.
And who knows when CMC is coming back.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think we're leaning towards he's not coming back, because this is bizarre. But before we head into our final ad break of the evening, it's that time of year, the Fall Classic. It's the World Series. Adam's Yankees are in it against the Dodgers. Game 1 is tomorrow. Adam, you have to be extremely giddy for this matchup. How long do you think this series goes, and who wins?
Well, it's funny you mentioned this, because I saw this recently a couple days ago when Alex Rodriguez made his World Series prediction at the All-Star break. He said Yankees in 7 over the Dodgers. And what more can you ask for when you get the two best teams in baseball with the brightest stars in the league? You got Aaron Judge, you got Juan Soto, you got Mookie Betts, you got Shohei Ohtani, and the pitching for both teams to go with it as well is ecstatic. So when you're really looking into this series, of course I got the Yanks in 7, but this series can really go either way. It's a coin flip, in my opinion, to be honest, and you really can go with either team based on how both these franchises are run.
Brai, you next. What do you think?
I agree. I think it could go either way. I think they're definitely going to play all 7 games, though. I think it might come down to pitching a little bit, but I think both teams are pretty consistent in just in general. So what do you think, Vargo?
I think that it's going to be the Dodgers in 7. I agree with that. I just think the Dodgers bats have gone supernova. They did against the Mets. Ohtani's been great. Betts has been Betts. Freeman's been Freeman. What more could you ask for? The starting pitching is shaky, and that could hurt them, but I feel like the bats are so good, it honestly doesn't even matter in some ways. It didn't matter against the Mets whatsoever. I love this matchup. 2 big market teams duking it out last series of the year. A far cry from last year's World Series where we got Texas, Arizona, and nobody was tuning in. I didn't tune in. I'm definitely tuned in for this. I think it's going to be great. But with that, we're going to end the roundtable for now, heading to our final ad break of the evening. Adam, thank you so much once again for hopping on. We got Mike Ferlazzo coming up right after this here on 88.9 The Pulse. PA Pigskin preview live from Buffalo Wild Wings here on 88.9 WQSU The Pulse. You guys already know who we are, but we got a special guest in the building. We got Mike Ferlazzo, the Director of Media Relations at Bucknell, the former SID at Susquehanna University back in the day, and the current broadcaster for Mount Carmel High School football. Ferlazzo, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How you been?
It's my pleasure, particularly since I have 2 of my students from my sports announcing class that I'm speaking with right now. So I'm hoping that you make me proud tonight.
Believe me, we will. We will.
I got a lot of adrenaline right now because I just came from Mount Carmel Area has their football dinner every Thursday. It's called Supper Club, and it's over at Matucci's in Mount Carmel. And I was texting with Jackson, telling him that I'm running a little bit late because, as you can imagine, with the coal bucket game tomorrow at the Silver Bowl, Supper Club ran a little late too because there was a lot to talk about with that big game, and it is a huge game.
Yeah, and I kind of want to lead it off with that game. Mount Carmel, this is a rivalry against Shamokin that they've really dominated over the years. Shamokin hasn't won this game in over a quarter century, but this year, something feels a little bit different with them. They're 9-0.
Yep.
And what has been the keys on the Shamokin side that has really led to their success this season?
Well, first off, it's head coach Mark Persing's second year. They were 7-4 last year. They lost in an Eastern Conference playoff, very close game too. But that set the tone for this season. They have 10 starters back on each side of the ball from that team, and have added some athletes that weren't out for football as well. So easily, this is the most complete team that they've had in all three phases. They're 9-0 for a reason. They're one of the top teams in the state in Class 4A, and they're trying to secure their first undefeated regular season since 1993. You mentioned about the Coal Bucket game. Haven't won the Coal Bucket since 1995. It's a 27-game losing streak to Mount Carmel Area. And, of course, most of the people are talking about this is the year. I mean, if you're talking in the Shamokin area, they're all saying we've never had a better team than this, and maybe one of their best teams ever. However, to do it, they're going to have to do it in the Silver Bowl at Joe Jazz Diminick Field on grass against a Mount Carmel team that's pretty doggone good, too. They're 7-2. Their lone losses, they lost the opener to North Schuylkill, fell down early in that game, came back and lost 37-30, and they lost at undefeated Danville, which, of course, you know all about with Jackson Purnell since he calls their games.
Yep.
And that was a game where Mount Carmel really pushed Danville around in the game, but critical penalties, a big turnover at the end of the first half. They ended up losing at 22-19, but that was an undefeated Danville team that's ranked number 1 in the state Class 3A. So I got to tell you, Mount Carmel still feels they've got a good shot in this game tomorrow. It should be one heck of a game.
And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not even from this area, but reading into all of the articles, everyone seems pretty excited, and it's kind of rubbing off on me as well. But you mentioned it with Mount Carmel, 7-2, 5-1 in conference play among 3A. They're still very good, and obviously they're going to give them one heck of a game. But what are the keys for them to really spoil Shamokin's perfect season and can make it 28 straight seasons?
Well, one of the things about Mount Carmel is they are impeccably balanced on offense. They average 182 yards on the ground and 182 yards through the air. Perfect balance. So keeping Shamokin's defense off balance would seem to be a key. However, I will tell you, in this game, much like Danville, I think they're going to go a little bit more run heavy. Last year, they had almost 600 yards of total offense at Shamokin in the Coal Bucket game, almost 400 on the ground. Luke Blessing, who's the returning senior All-State running back, this is a great story. He suffered a serious injury in the first half of the North Schuylkill game, our season opener. A lot of people thought it was season ending, and he's a senior, so this would have been a big deal. After rushing for almost 1,400 yards and 19 touchdowns last year, he worked his way back from this injury, got back on the field for week 5 at Montoursville, only had 2 carries, felt it tweaked again, thought he re-aggravated again. He made it back again 2 weeks ago against Central Mountain, led us in rushing that night, although we spread the ball around a lot that night. He carried it a bunch last week at Milton. He is part of now what I would consider to be a four-headed monster on the ground. Cooper Karicki is the leader. He's the sophomore. He's more the slasher. Luke, it's LB, and I got to tell you, I asked him at Supper Club the one time, I said, you run a little bit like Le'Veon Bell used to run for the Steelers, because you know how patient Le'Veon Bell was? Very patient, waited for things to come to him. That's how Luke runs. I mean, he has great vision, and he waits for the hole to open, and then he shoots through there. So, makes sense. Le'Veon Bell, LB, Luke Blessing, LB.
Okay.
Right? So that makes a lot of sense. And then they also have Michael Kimsel, who is kind of the third man. When it was just Cooper Karicki and Michael Kimsel, I called them Thunder and Lightning. Kimsel's Thunder and Karicki would be Lightning. Now with Blessing in the mix, so they've got the three-headed monster, and add Jalen Delaney, who is probably Mount Carmel's most explosive player now, and he is only a sophomore. He's already broken Mount Carmel's school record for receptions in the season. He's got 54 coming into play tomorrow night. And I got to tell you, they run this counter play with him coming from the wing that he just is electric in the open field. He makes people miss. And so, four-headed monster, they almost ran for 400 yards last year and 6 touchdowns in that game. Is Shamokin's defense that much better that they're going to defend that so much better? Now, on the flip side, Shamokin averages 277 yards on the ground, too. And they've got a three-headed monster. They average over 7 yards per carry. And they've got their own Thunder and Lightning combination as well. In Jace Gink, he's the slasher. And then another running back is Zakam Clinton. And Clinton is the big guy. He's 6'1", 225, a junior.
Okay.
So they've got the slasher, and then they've got the power back in Clinton. And Logan Steele, their quarterback, also averages over 5 yards per carry as well. So does it come down to whoever runs the ball the most and controls the run on defense the most wins this game? Could be. I just asked that question of John Dara, and he said, well, it's Coal Region football. That's always the case, but probably in this game, yeah, that'll be a big key.
All right. But how about we show a little bit of love to the passing game? On the Mount Carmel side, they've got quarterback Gavin Marshalek, and as you alluded to, Jalen Delaney at wide receiver. Marshalek has thrown for 1,588 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 picks, and Delaney has 57 catches, 750 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And as you said, he's a factor in the run game as well. But how dynamic is the passing game when those two are clicking?
Well, I'll tell you what, they have rare chemistry. They really do, and you saw it from game 1. They worked a lot together in the summer, a lot in the offseason. And Marshalek has to go down as one of Mount Carmel's most improved players from last year. I mean, he was getting a lot of playing time as a freshman and a sophomore. Let me tell you one quick Marshalek story. His freshman year, he was the third-string quarterback. The starting quarterback for Mount Carmel that year goes down with an injury, a serious knee injury. So they move up Matt Belichick. He's the number 2 quarterback. He's still now the backup quarterback this year. He goes down with an injury at Southern Columbia. Yes, the defending champion, state champion, Southern Columbia. So in comes Gavin Marshalek, a freshman, his first varsity action. So you're thinking a freshman quarterback's probably just going to hand the ball off, right? I mean, he's not going to ask him to do a lot. Nope, play action pass, completed a long pass play on his very first play in as a freshman quarterback, and the rest, as they say, is history. I guess that's how legends are made. But Marshalek's been really good. One of the things that's a big stat on him, aside from the numbers you just gave with the yards and the touchdowns, he set a Mount Carmel Area season record this year. He had 115 consecutive passes without an interception. He's only thrown 3 picks this year. Unfortunately for him, 2 of them were last week at Milton, which ended that streak, but 115 in a row before throwing an interception. He goes to a lot of big-time passing camps. Penn State. I know he went to North Carolina's. I know Coach Franklin knows him well. He's going to Syracuse a lot and all that kind of stuff, and it shows. One of the things that's really the best is how he runs the offense. And let me tell you, his hard count is the best in high school football in this area. He draws teams offsides at least 2 times a game. So Central Columbia, I think he drew them offside 5 or 6 times in that ball game. So he's really good, and Jalen Delaney is just explosive in the open field.
All right. And my final question. This is a kind of segment I wish we had 2 hours for this because we could go on and on and on about this. But I actually want to bring it to Susquehanna football. As you were the SID back in the day and you were there for homecoming, you saw how dynamic this Riverhawk team is offensively and how many studs they have defensively. So throughout all the Susquehanna football you've seen, where does this current iteration of the Riverhawks rank amongst all of them?
Well, in my time, they're better than all of them. They're more complete than all of those teams. They're also more explosive. Again, we ran the Delaware Wing T back in the day when I was the sports information director, which is what Southern Columbia's run very effectively. In fact, they learned it from Susquehanna. But this is a much more explosive, modern offense with lots of weapons. Kyle Howes, by the way, another student of mine from the sports announcing class. He is obviously a one-man wrecking crew sometimes. But no, they're very complete. And I think you just have to look at their record right now. I mean, last year, Cortland State goes on and wins the national championship. They have 1 loss. It was to Susquehanna. Susquehanna this year had the defending champs, who I think are still ranked number 2 in the nation,
That's right.
Yeah. On the ropes, kind of let them off, but lose by 2 points to the defending national champs. And, you know, I think it's a foregone conclusion, unless it's an upset of epic proportion, they're going to roll through the Landmark Conference. So they're going to go 9-1 in the regular season. They're probably going to get a home field again because they're going to get the AQ, and their only loss is a 2-pointer to the defending national champions and the number 2 ranked team in the country. So I think this team has a good playoff run in them this time. And the other thing is they're going to get past that first round this year. I believe that.
I hope so, because this team...
I hope so, too.
I agree. This team is just too talented to go out after 1 playoff game. I want to see them go on a run. It'll be a lot of fun to watch, and I'm getting excited for it. The regular season's coming to a close. But with that, once again, Ferlazzo, thank you so much for hopping on tonight. Again, I wish we had more time, but I thought we made great work with the time that we did have.
I got to tell you, I have to go on an hour early tomorrow for the Coal Bucket game. I have about an hour of content that I could have given you tonight.
I love it.
I believe it.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
But with that, we're signing off from the PA Pigskin Preview here on 88.9 WQSU The Pulse. I've been Matt Vargo. Alongside me tonight, once again, Brai, Tate. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's get back to the classic rock hits of yesterday and today.